Hi everyone, today we'll be looking at the paper 1 of the GCSE of the November 2020 series. So question 1 is about the first 5 terms of an arithmetic sequence. We see that it's 1, 4, 7, so the first thing we notice is that we've got a constant difference of 3. We keep adding 3, so if D is 3. We also notice that the first term is 1. And we know that for an arithmetic sequence, the nth term is given by a plus n minus 1d. We replace a with 1, we replace d with 3, and we can actually go a step further and expand this to simplify this, giving 3n minus 2. An alternative way would be for you to see that since I keep adding 3, it has to do something with 3n. So I would say un is 3n. And then I need to make sure that when I substitute n is 1, I get that u1 is 1. So I need to make a small correction. And that correction will be deducting 2. So that when I put n to be 1, I get u1 to be 3 times 1 minus 2. And therefore, I am indeed starting at the right place. Question 2, I will start by expressing everything as improper. So 2 1/3 times 3 3/4 will be 7/3 times 15/4. Remember, I'm doing 2 times 3 plus 1, giving me the 7. And then 3 times 4, 12, plus 3, it's 15. Now I can do some simplifications here. The 3 with the 15 leaves me a 5 in the numerator. And then I do numerator with numerator. 7 times 5 is 35 over the denominator of 4, which I need to take back to a mixed number form, which is 8 3/4. In 3, we're being given 4 diagrams, and we need to actually determine the corresponding equations given the table here. So the first thing that I notice is that I've got one parabola, and the only parabola here is graph D. So that should certainly be graph D, the y is x squared. I've got one reciprocal graph, 1 over x. So it's this one here, the first one, graph A. And then I really need to make a decision between x cubed and minus x cubed. It's gonna be between B and B and C. So this one goes from left down to right up. It's increasing, so it's the positive x cubed. And this graph B is going the other way around, so it's the minus x cubed. So C is x cubed and B is minus x cubed. In number 4, we need to determine the two triangles that are congruent. So we really need to be looking at the angles to start off with. So this is 55 and 45, together give you 100. So this must be 80 here. I will do the same in triangle D, because that's the only triangle I know both angles. 80 and 45 is 125. Take away 125 from 180, I get 55. That's a good sign. I've got 3 angles which are the same, the 80, the 55, and the 45. And I also notice that the 10 centimeters is the side that connects the 55 to the 45, which is also true for triangle D. So it must be A and D. For triangles C and B, I only had one angle, so I couldn't really follow this approach. So my answer is A and D. Number 5. Sean pays £10 for 24 chocolate bars. He sells all of them for 50p each. What is his percentage profit? Well, I will start by determining how much he earns out of selling the chocolate bars. So 24 times 0.5 is 12 pounds. So his profit is 12, it's 12 minus 10, which is 2 pounds. And taking into account that he originally paid 10 pounds, he made a profit of 2 out of 10, which is just 20%. In 6, we've got this ADC triangle. Parallel lines are shown here. We need to work out the size of angle EAB, this one here. What I could do is start off by finding this angle here, the ACD. I need to give reasons to justify my working. So ACD is 180 minus 148, which is 32 degrees. And the reason is that we've got interior angles. And we know that interior angles add up to 180 degrees. I think it's a good idea to keep updating your diagrams with any information you derive. So I'm going to put the 32 here. And then it's easily seen that to find the angle here, the A, is just the third angle in triangle ADC. So I can simply say that EAB is 180 minus the 63 and the 32. Now 63 and 32 gives me 95, so this is 85 degrees. The reason is that angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Now, in these kind of questions, you really need to be careful because you've been explicitly asked to give reasons. And a good way to remember of how many reasons to give is that for every new number that appears, you need to justify with a reason. So the 180 here is coming from the interior angles. And the 180 here is coming from the angles in a triangle that are known to add up to 180 degrees. Number 7. We've got a STEAM and leaf diagram showing information about heights of a group of 15 year 9 boys. And we've got a table here of year 9 girls. So we need to compare the distribution. So I've got the information for the girls here that's over and done with. I'm gonna be working on the STEM and leaf diagram to find similar numbers, so the same. The least height, the median, and the greatest height for the boys. So I'm gonna put girls here and then update these with boys. The least height is obviously 158 centimeters, and the greatest height is 182 centimeters. Now to find the median, well, we've got 15 boys. I'm gonna do 15 over 2. It's 7.5. And because I got a non-integer, I'm going to round up, so the median will be the 8th value. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 168 is the median for the boys. So I've got a full picture and I can easily compare between boys and girls. So based on the fact that I've got the least and the greatest height, I can actually determine the range, which is the difference of these two. And for the girls, it's 20 centimeters, whilst for the boys, it's 24 centimeters. And that could be one of my comments. So I can say that the boys have a wider range of heights than girls. And I've got my justification here. It's the 20 and the 24. And I could say then that the median for boys, median height for boys greater than girls. it's actually a good idea to call the exact numbers. So when I talk about range, I'm gonna say 24 centimeter versus 20 centimeters and 168 centimeters versus 165 centimeters. So that make my comparison clear. 8, it's a prism that's placed on a horizontal floor. We've been given the formula for the pressure, it's force over area. When it has a height of 3 meters, the volume is 18 cubic meters. The pressure on the floor is 75 newtons per square meters, and we need to work out the force exerted by the prism on the floor. Now to find the force, we want the pressure and the area. So the area is actually this part here. So what I will do, I'm gonna use the fact that the volume is the cross-sectional area times the height, and this will allow me to find the cross-sectional area. So 18 is CSA times 3, so the cross-sectional area is 6 squared meters. So I can go now to the pressure is force over area formula, substitute pressure with 75, the force is what I'm after, and the area is 6. I notice that I don't have a problem with units, everything is in squared meters. So 75 times 6 is the force. Now 75 times 6 is 450. So it's gonna be newtons, 450 newtons for this question. Number 9, write these numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest number. I could try getting everything to be in the same form, maybe as a decimal form or as a standard form. However, just by looking at it, I noticed that these two numbers are actually quite big, and the other two numbers are the small numbers. So I'm gonna do comparisons between these two. So for the small numbers, I could actually start by writing the 67.2 times 10 to the minus 4. The minus 4 means I will be moving the decimal point 4 places to the left. So it's gonna be 0.00672, which is obviously greater than this one. So we've got the smallest being 0.00672. We then have the 0.00672. And then I need to decide between these two. I could make them both into standard form because the first one is, but the second one is not. The 672 will become 6.72 by dividing by 100. And me moving the decimal point 2 places to the left means I need to counterbalance this by increasing the power of 10 by 2. So this means that we've got here 6.72 times 10 to the 5, and then 6.72 times 10 to the 6. And this is what we have here. 10. Given that A over B is 2 over 5 and B over C is 3 over 4, we need to find A to B to C. So what we do here is that we write this as ratios. So A to B is 2 to 5, and then B to C is 3 to 4. I need to make them somehow communicate, and B is the connecting link here. So the LCM of 5 and 3 is 15. So I'm gonna say that A to B is 6 to 15, and B to C is 15 to 20. So I multiplied this by 3 and this by 5. Now that we've got B being the same, 15 and 15, I can easily say that A to B to C is 6 to 15 to 20. In question 11, we need to find the value of the fourth root of 81 times 10 to the 8. So we really need to make a start by noticing that 81 is 3 to the power of 4. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So raising to the power of 4 to the fourth root means I'm going to raise to the power of 1 over 4. And when I've got a power raised to a power, I multiply the indices together. So 4 times a quarter is 1. And 8 times a quarter is 2. So this is 3 times 100, which is 300. In B, the value of 64 to the minus a half, I will start by consuming the negative sign and expressing this as 1 over 64 to the half. I then know that the power of a half means a square root, so it's 1 over the root of 64, which is 1 over 8. And C, write 3 to the n over 9 to the n minus 1 as a power of 3. I really need to start off by writing 9 as 3 to the power of 2. So this is 3 to the n over 3 squared to the n minus 1. Again, a power to a power, I multiply the powers together, which means I've got 3 to the 2n minus 2. And then because I've got division with a common base, I subtract the indices. I'm careful here with the negative signs, leading to 3 to the n minus 2n plus 2, which is 3 to the 2 minus n. In 12, it's the weekly wages of 80 people, and I need to complete the cumulative frequency table. So I'm adding up, so 5 between 200 and 250, and then between 230, it's these two numbers together, so it's 15. 15 plus 20 will be 35, plus 20, it's gonna be 55, plus 15, it's gonna be 70, plus 10, it's gonna be 80. A check would be that your last entry in the cumulative frequency column should be giving you the total number of people, which was given to be 80. So we need to draw the cumulative frequency graph. So I'm going to go to the graph. I'm plotting always against the class endpoints. So 250,5 will be here. The next one was 300,15. It was then 35, then 55, then 70, and then 80. We also start off at 200. So we've got all the information here. We went up to 500. Everything seems to be in place. I need to join this with a smooth curve. Everyone will be drawing their own curves, similar, and all the answers will depend on what we have drawn here. So Juan says that 60% of this group of people have a weekly wage of 360 pounds or less, and we need to determine whether Juan is correct. So I will go at 360. 360 is here. I got 40. You might get similar answers. Remember, we are following off from each one of yours cumulative frequency curves. So we know that 40 out of 80 had a wage of less than 360. So 40 out of 80 had a wage of less than 360 pounds. Now 40 out of 80 is 50%. Hence, one statement, the claim that 60% had a weekly wage of 360 or less, is actually false. Hence, 1 is wrong. Proceeding to the next question, it's liquid A and liquid B mixed to make liquid C. I see density, mass, volume here. I think it's a good idea to write the formula that density is mass over volume. In case you don't remember the formula, it's good to look at the units of density. It's kilograms per cubic meters. Kilograms is mass, cubic meters is volume, so we do mass over volume. So for liquid A, I've got the density, it's 70, I've got the mass is 1,400, and I want to find the volume. So 70 V is 1,400. So V is 1,400 over 70. Now the 0 with the 0 go away, and 14 with 7 is 2, so this is 20 cubic meters. And for B, the density is 280. The mass is what we're trying to find, and the volume is 30. So the mass will be 280 times 30. 28 times 3 is 84. 0, 0, and that's kilograms. So for C, the density will be the total mass, which will be 1,400 plus 8,400 over the total volume, which will be 20 plus 30. Now this is 9,800 over 50. The 0 with the 0 cancel out, and I do 980 divided by 5. I can do it here. It's a non-calculated paper, remember. Now 5 in 9 goes 1, a remainder of 4, and then 8 down. 5 in 48 is 9, and the remainder of 3 with a 0. So it's 196 kilograms per cubic meters. So this is what we get here in this question. Sally plays 2 games against Martin. In each game, Sally could win, draw, or lose. In each game they play, the prize that Sally will win is against Martin is 0.3, and the prize she will draw is 0.1. What is the prize that Sally will win exactly one of the 2 games against Martin? So this means we've got a win and a no win, or a no win and a win. The probability of winning is 0.3, and the probability of not winning is 0.7. 1 minus 0.3, because this includes the probability of drawing and the probability of losing. And then the probability of not winning is 0.7 times the probability of winning, which is 0.3. Now this is 0.21 plus 0.21, which is 0.42. 15, it's the straight line with equation y is 3x minus 4. We've got a second equation, a second straight line perpendicular to the first one, passing through 9, 5. So let's start with the first piece of information. I'm perpendicular to L1, which means I will steal the gradient of L1, which is 3. And I know that because it's in the form of y cos mx plus c. And I can find the gradient of L2 by flipping and changing the sign. We know that 2 lines are perpendicular if the product of their gradients is -1. So I flip and I change sign. So for L2, we are after the equation of a straight line, y cos mx plus c. We have already established that m is -1/3. And I will now use the second piece of information that I pass to the point 9, 5, which means that when x is 9, y is 5. So I will put 5 is -1/3 of 9 plus c. 5 is -3 plus c, so 8 is c. So y is minus a third, x plus 8, and that's the equation of the straight line. Remember not to stop when you find c. You actually need to give an equation of the straight line, just like the question was asking you to. 10, Shirley wants to find an estimate for the number of bees in her hive. She caught 90 of those on Monday and she puts a mark, and on Tuesday she catches 120 of the bees, and she finds that 20% of these bees have been marked. And we need to work out an estimate for the total number of bees in her hive. So we don't know the total, so I'm gonna call the total number of bees n. So the idea is that the proportion of marked bees in Tuesday's sample and the proportion of marked bees on Monday's sample should be the same. So this means that 20 over 120 should be equal to 90 over n. Now 20 with 120 leaves me a 6. So n is 6 times 90, which is 540, and that's an estimate. Shirley assumes that none of the marks had wrapped off between Monday and Tuesday. If Shirley's assumption is wrong, explain what effect this will have on your answer to part A. So, if her assumption is wrong, and indeed some of the marks had wrapped off, it means that this proportion here is less than Monday's proportion, because we've got less marked bees in Tuesday's samples, stemming from the fact that some of the marks had wrapped off. So essentially we had 20 over 120 being less than 90 over n. And if I simplify all of this, I get that n is less than 6 times 90, so n is less than 540. So she would have obtained a smaller number. So her answer would go down. And the justification is really the calculation here. In 17, we need to make f the subject of this formula, and I will start off by cross multiplying to get d brackets f minus 4 is 3 brackets 1 minus f. I will expand, and I notice that I've got f on both sides. So what I will do, I'll collect the terms in f on the left and the remaining terms on the right. I will factor out the f. So it's d plus 3, and I get 3 plus 4d. So f is 3 plus 4d over d plus 3. So making the subject means you leave f on its own on one side and it doesn't appear on the other side. So f is 3 plus 4d over d plus 3. 18, x is proportional to root y, where y is greater than 0. Y is increased by 44%. What is the percentage increase in x? So x being proportional to root y means that x is equal to k root y for some constant of proportionality k. Now, if y is increased by 44%, this one here, this means that we go from y to 1.44y. That corresponds to the multiplying factor representing an increase of 44%. So x will be k root of 1.44y, which will be x is k times 1.2 root y, because the square root of 1.44 is 1.2. So this means that if y is increased by 4%, I see a multiplying factor of 1.2. So this will be a 20% increase for x. 19 is a functions question. G of 5 means that I replace x with 5, and it's 3 brackets 2 times 5 plus 1, which is 3 times 10, plus 1, 3 times 11, which is 33. And in G of f of 9, it's a composite. I will do first f of 9 and then put that into G. This is G of 12 over root 9. Now root of 9 is 3, so this is G of 12 over 3, which is G over 4. And then I go into G, and it's 3 times 2 times 4 plus 1, which is 3 times 8 plus 1, which is 3 times 9, which is 27. And in C, we need to find G inverse. One way will be to start by finding G inverse of x and then substitute 6. So I start by saying y is 3 brackets 2x plus 1. I interchange x and y, which means that wherever I see a y, I put an x. Wherever I see an x, I put a y. And I will try making y the subject. X is 6y plus 3. X minus 3 is 6y. So x minus 3 over 6 is y. So G inverse of x is x minus 3 over 6, which means that G inverse of 6 will be 6 minus 3 over 6, which is 3 over 6, which is just a half. 20, we need to show that the root of 180 minus 2 root 5 over 5 root 5 minus 5 can be written in that form. I will actually start off by writing 180 as 36 times 5, because 36 has a nice root. And then we will say that the root of 36 is 6. So this is 6 root 5 minus 2 root 5 over 5 root 5 minus 5, which leads to 4 root 5 over 5. I notice that 5 is a common factor in the denominator, so I'm going to take it out and get root 5 minus 1. We are a bit better than where we started off with, but we really need to rationalize the denominator. So I will multiply by 1 in an intelligent way. It's root 5 plus 1 over root 5 plus 1. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm mimicking a difference of two square structure, because in the numerator, 4 root 5 times root 5 will be 4 times 5. And 4 root 5 times 1 is 4 root 5. And in the denominator, it's the 5. And then if I expand, it's going to be 5 plus root 5 minus root 5. They cancel out, minus 1. So it's going to be 5 minus 1. So it's 4, 5 plus root 5 over 5 times 4. And the 4s will cancel out, and it's going to be 5 over 5 plus root 5 over 5. So this is just 1 plus root 5 over 5. Quite a bit of work in here. You need to be careful with the roots in order to achieve the right form without missing any step, any detail. Question 21 is a question on vectors. We're being told that P is the midpoint of FD, which means that this splits down in the ratio of 1 to 1. And similarly, Q is the midpoint of DE. So again, we've got this in the ratio of 1 to 1. We need to use a vector method to prove that PQ is parallel to FE. So all I'm trying to do here is find vector PQ in terms of A and B. So I can start by saying that PQ is equal to PD plus DQ. Now, going from P to D is the same as going from F to D, half the distance. So this is half of FD. And going from D to Q is half of DE. Now we know that the FD is simply A. So this is a half A plus a half of. Now to go from D to E, I can go from D to F and then from F to E. So it's going to be a half of DF plus FE. We know that the DF is simply minus A and FE is simply B. So I will expand the brackets and I get a half A minus a half A plus a half B, all in all simplifying to a half B. Now we know that FE is B, and therefore PQ is simply a half of FE. And since PQ is a multiple of FE, this leads to the conclusion that PQ is parallel to FE as required. Now it is crucial for you to make an explicit comparison between FE and PQ, show that one is a multiple of the other, and also write a conclusion in order to get the full marks for this question. Question 22, we're being given these two shapes. The first one is a complicated one. It's the big radius is 5x minus 1, and we've got a sector of this big circle and then deducted a sector of a smaller circle with radius 3x minus 1. The angle is 45 degrees. Shape B now is a circle of diameter 2 minus 2x. The first thing I'll be doing here is writing that in this case r is 1 minus x, so the radius is just the diameter over 2. And the two shaded areas are the same. So I will start off by finding the area of A in terms of x. This will be 45 over 360 times pi r squared. So that's the big sector. Take away the area of the small sector, so that I'm left with the shaded, the A part. And I'm told that this is equal to the area of B, which is pi r squared. Now the first thing I notice is that the pi's appear throughout, so I will simplify this out. And then 45 over 360 simplifies to 1 over 8. I will now expand the square, so it's going to be 25x squared minus 10x plus 1 over 8 minus 9x squared minus 6x plus 1 over 8 is equal to 1 minus 2x plus x squared. Notice I'm not trying to do too many things in one go. I'm just expanding things here. And then I want to get rid of the over 8 to avoid dealing with fractions. I'll multiply everything by 8. So 25x squared minus 10x plus 1 minus brackets 9x squared minus 6x plus 1 close brackets is 8 times 1 minus 2x plus x squared. It's time to do further simplifications here. So I open up the brackets leading to this, and then I will collect everything on one side eventually. So let me see, on the left hand side I've got 16x squared minus 4x On the right hand side, I've got 8 minus 16x plus 8x squared. I'll collect everything on the left, leading to 8x squared plus 12x minus 8 is 0. Everything is divisible by 4, so 2x squared plus 3x minus 2 is 0. And this factorizes into 2x and x, and I've got a plus 2 here and a minus 1 there. So we are after the value of x. Either 2x minus 1 is 0 or x plus 2 is 0. So this is 2x is equal to 1, meaning that x is a half, or x is minus 2. Now, x being minus 2 means that some of the lengths here will be negative, which is not possible. So I reject the negative 2, it's not valid. And I'm just left with x being a half. In 23, we've got 4 types of cards in a game, it says. So the number of cards with a black shape to the number of cards with a white shape is 3 to 5. And the number of cards with a circle to the number of cards with a triangle is 2 to 7. I have to express the total number of cards with a black shape as a fraction of the total number of cards with a triangle. So somehow, I'm interested in this quantity and this quantity. And in order to make the ratios communicate, we need to find the LCM. So 3 plus 5 is 8, and 2 plus 7 is 9. And the LCM of 8 and 9 is 72. So I will express everything in ratios that add up to 72. So for the number of cards with a black shape to the number of cards with a white shape, I will multiply these ratios by 9, leading to 27 to 45. And for number of cards with a circle to the number of cards with a triangle, I will multiply the ratios by 8. So that's going to be 16 to 56. So the number of cards with a black shape to the number of cards with a triangle is 27 to 56, and therefore the fraction that we want to find is 27 over 56. So this question was about you determining that you had to work with the LCM and then just making the ratios add up to the same number. So it's 27 out of 56.